Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Gary Gensler's on CNBC and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.36 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is flat at the moment. 64,200 plus for Bitcoin, 2,600 plus for Ethereum, 119 billion plus market cap for Tether, 36 billion plus for USDC. Number 7 spots XRP at 58 cents. We're up 0.2 on the 24, 0.3 on the 7-day. I want to tell you about this very quickly. There's been a lot of people out here affected by this shot, and you know the shot I'm talking about. And I want to show you this because this is something that they are saying is working for people. You can get spike formula, which helps with the dissolution of spike proteins in the body, or you can get spike detox trio, which I actually love here. I've actually got the one that I just showed you, but I might be getting around to this because I just like to do this a few times a year. This is not the first time I've detoxed, but this is the first time I've used this for a detox, and this is my second round of detoxing. Now, my wife is doing her first round of it, but I think it's really great. And not only that, you can see here all medical kits, medical emergency kits, kids emergency kits, contagion emergency kits, first aid emergency kits. Everyone should have this medical emergency kit, no doubt about it. But look, here's the good news. The good news is not only can you get access to this stuff, and I think we all know now's the time to get access to this stuff because government has shown us that they will take this stuff and bring it off the shelf so we can't get access to it when we need it most. And I've even got a discount for you, 10% discount underneath the video. Click the link and take care of your family. Each family member needs this. There's no question about it. We all need it. Make sure you get it and enjoy the link. There we have it. Gold breaks all-time highs every single day. We set the next Fibonacci target at $2,812 per ounce, the 10th on March this year coming. So I'm super excited to see it. And this just speaks to me in a way that the markets are saying they understand that the dollar is collapsing. That's what's going on here, right? Gold isn't going up. The dollar's going down. That's what's happening. Citibank says a hard landing is imminent and aggressive rate cuts by the Fed are more likely. Oh, boy. Well, now here's the other side of that. The other side of that is that sends assets crazy through the roof, just like gold is now, right? So ultimately, history says that we see that reflection in assets, just like gold, just like crypto. And if this continues, I think you're going to see what we've been waiting for. Now, that doesn't mean I'm standing on the sidelines wishing for a collapse. I just happen to be aware of the fact that one's coming and there isn't anything I can do about stopping it. So I just well invest in a manner that I benefit from it. Gary Gensler affirms Bitcoin's not a security. Listen, I know that this is hard to listen to. I get it, okay? But we're grown-ups. We're all adults. Let's just listen to this.
But there's some argument to be made that you want this, that actually it would be better if all of this business was happening in the U.S. You talk about an SBF. Obviously, that was taking place in the Bahamas. And, you know, a lot of people were trying to do things in other places. If there was a real regime here that everybody could trust and we had established rules and there weren't these questions about whether you were going to go over the line or you're behind the line, where the line was, would that be better?
I think that we do have those rules.
So you think those lines exist. Then why do people in the industry say that they don't know what the rules are?
Look, not liking the rules is not the same as that there aren't rules. And I think
okay, so now let's go with that. Not liking the rules isn't the same as saying that there's no rules. So basically he's saying the people that say that there are no rules just don't like the rules that are there. However, the courts, federal judges have found that the SEC and Gary Gensler are liars. And this guy still sits here, and Andrew Sorkin and CNBC prop this guy up to allow him to carry the narrative. You think they'd ask him a real question? Like, Hey, Commissioner Gensler, can you explain in detail how you met with Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, twice at a minimum as the SEC chair, and you still allowed that to fail? And then when he goes to, well, these companies he had were in the Bahamas and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, And it would take 2 seconds to see what a dumpster fire that is. And in fact, knowing that he had companies offshore should have been even more of a flag to go deep on his ass and figure out exactly what was going on inside of FTX. But that isn't what Gary Gensler did. No. What Gary Gensler did was look to the idea and go, oh, that's right, Sam Bankman-Fried is the second largest Democrat donor. Come on in, Sam. What can we do for you? Can we give you a special purpose broker dealer's license? You've got it. What else? What else do you need? Because I know your parents, they were heavy into regulating in the regulatory industry before teaching at Stanford and fleecing that university. What can we do for you? Let's just open the door and pave the way, right? But then they all got caught. Yeah. Sam couldn't afford to keep paying for the orgies.
I think there's a lot that have profited off of the public's interest in this field, but profited without the proper disclosures. And inherently, there's business models that have a lot of conflicts. And we've seen the results of that time in and time again. Outside of crypto and inside of crypto, we see what happens when there's so inherent conflict. So we've got 90 years of experience with this, Andrew. It works reasonably well. We've got the deepest, most liquid capital markets. We're trying to make them more efficient. What we're doing in the equity markets, what we're doing in the treasury markets.
To top-tier crypto. That's my take.
What's that?
I think you're warming up to top-tier crypto. I don't think you think it's a monolith. I think you think there might be some actual usage or benefit to top-tier crypto. Would you say recently you're evolving to where... Go ahead.
Joe, where are you on what's called altcoins? There's 15 or 20,000. That's what
I
where
know.
are you, Joe?
But
listen to that. And now all of a sudden, there's a little bit of the real story there. So where are you on altcoins? There's 15 to 20,000, Joe. Like, we can't let that many through, Joe. Right?
When you came in, you said, that I probably only own Bitcoin, and you act like that's okay for me because I don't own all the garbage. I think you were thinking. So I just get the feel.
Garbage was your word.
I know, but are you warming up to top?
It was not that kind of a word that you
Actually,
right.
Joe, for the public, used a stronger word than garbage.
I did, but are you warming up to? Do you see that it's probably here to stay and something that could be useful?
This is something I said to students 4 and 5 years ago.
I know, but you didn't say it to once you were the SEC chair.
No. That this field will not long persist without investor protection or consumer protection. Number two, many of these projects, without prejudging anyone, are tapping into the public's interest to raise money. That's the classic securities sort of protections that you put in place. You can decide to go long or short these projects, but you need the disclosures. And as it relates to Bitcoin, my predecessor and I have said that's not a security.
Okay. He says that's not a security. I say that, okay, that's fine. But I tell you what it is. It is a government psyop at my house. I can tell you that. We don't need to hear any more of that. And I'm sorry you had to hear that much. But you heard him ask Joe, well, what about the altcoins, Joe? Right? What about the 15, 20,000 other days? Well, let me tell you, we're going to get to it. Bitcoin, Tether. Yeah, the conversation at Bitcoin 2024 got so deep, they cut this dude off. Tether is a government operation. They came out and told us to partner with the Secret Service and the federal FBI. And they're not even in the U.S., and the FBI is a domestic agency. Come on in. So, you listen. Well, I tell you what, sometimes I love being in my 50s, right? Because you can't piss in my face and tell me it's raining. I'm going to tell you that right now. I want you to listen to this clip. And while you're listening to this clip, I want you to think about what we've talked about tons of times on this channel. If you wanted to rein in this crypto space, how would you rein in the 15, 20,000 cryptos? You do what the EU does, and you make the regulations so Tether can't be a stable coin. And now you get pushed out of 27 nations. You do that here in the US, and I bet that market cap of Tether isn't going to stay at 119 billion. Or you have it be captured the way it is and you rebrand it as the real USD and then bring it under a regulatory framework and actually start accounting for the reserves, right? But listen to this clip and hear what this guy says. He knows what's going on here. He knows this is a government operation.
I know that BlackRock invested $400 million in miners. They seem to be doubling down. There is this aspect where the civilian libertarian ideological war on Federal Reserve banks happens to coincide quite frequently with the global banking institutions like the World Bank and IMF similar desire to end or restrict the national Federal Reserves when it results in their own profits. Well, I'm so glad you brought up the Tether situation because you know, I mentioned I was a little surprised when I was asked to speak here because I just published a video called Bullish on Bullshit, which was a reason to invest in Bitcoin because there was a scam at the heart of it called Tether, which was supporting its liquidity and which was pumping up the Bitcoin price through the process that you just described.
So I tell you what, am I following this guy? I am now. I would tell you something, Mike Benz, lunch is on me, brother, if I ever get the opportunity. The balls on this guy sitting on stage at Bitcoin 24 telling the truth to a bunch of maxis. You know, and this guy sitting beside him is like, I've got to cut in here.
Mike, they're not pumping the price of Bitcoin. They're pumping the price of the amount of liquidity that fiat needs to prevent the impairment of really bad just policies and zombie companies that need another breath of the fiat air, right? Or the fiat liquidity.
Well, so now he's talking about the fact that, hey, this is Bitcoin Tether is all this propped up government psyop so they could just deal with the collapse of the dollar. And I think that is absolutely right. Are these guys holding XRP?
What would happen to the price of Bitcoin if Tether died tomorrow?
Well, it would, in the short term, if liquidity dries up, Bitcoin gets punished. We've seen this over and over again.
Now let me help. That was a crappy answer. No, if Tether goes down tomorrow, almost all of those 15, 20,000 aunts that Gary's talking about go right down the toilet because it's the only way into that asset and it's the only way out of that asset. So if you're into some of those assets, you might want to take another look at your portfolio.
But they can't let that deflation rip through the economy or else everybody's living in tent city, right?
Hence bullish on bullshit. That's exactly right.
Yep.
They have to keep it going in order to prevent that collapse. And it's, you know, I see Tether as crypto BCCI. I don't know if folks are familiar with the Bank of Credit and Commerce International. It was a CIA proprietary bank that was used in the 1980s. It was propped up by a Pakistani National Front at the time when the CIA was working with the Pakistani intelligence service to train and arm the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. These are the roots of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And we were training these Islamo-nationalist fascist groups, essentially, to fight off the Soviets. And we were running drug proceeds, the poppy that grew on the Golden Crescent, we were turning it into cash through the CIA bank called the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, and then converting that to cash and then funding our CIA mercenaries with it. And it grew to be one of the largest banks in the world because other depositors didn't know that this bank's pristine status as one of the world's leading banks was built on basically CIA drug proceeds and all these intelligence services using it as a laundromat for otherwise illicit activity. So when it collapsed, it took down a huge portion of the economy with it. It was a major, major scandal.
And it was one of the largest banks. And everybody keeps telling, Tether's too big. Oh, I could go for days. Listen, we got to change gears a little bit. The real USD is coming. And what's going to happen to Tether when it gets here? Or will it be Tether rebranded? I don't know. But I know this. I know it's more efficient to use the real USD than it is to use Ethereum. You could take a look at the price of it all, right? You could take a look at the price of it right here. The real USD was minted for $7.84 in fees on the XRP ledger. It's fractions of a cent. Why? Because the token issuance on the XRP ledger is a layer 1 feature that is a payment, and we happen to be great for payments, unlike on ETH, where this is a smart contract and is costly for payments. Exactly. And once people on the Ethereum network figure this out, mass exodus. Ladies and gentlemen, mass exodus. Meanwhile, PayPal enables U.S. businesses to buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrency. Millions of United States merchants can now transact in Bitcoin and crypto. Because it's not going to be allowed here? Of course it is. Open Eden, who just took $10 million off of Ripple for U.S. Treasuries, if you remember, and T-bills, is now delighted to announce that the Velo protocol has selected Open Eden Labs for tokenized U.S. Treasury bills as well as a reserve collateral asset known as USDV. And the stablecoin processes over $50 million a daily transaction on its decentralized exchange. So another person or company onboarding Velo there, connected to Stellar, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly there. So then we know this. There's a cost, right? Swift charges. And I'm showing you this because we just looked at Bitcoin, the conversation with the SEC commissioner, and understanding that they're talking about something that you invest in and it doesn't have a real use case at all comparatively to the market and the things out here like XLM, Stellar, XDC, so on, the list goes on, right? These things are actually instruments that do something. These things can actually enhance the financial system. They can make business models better, right? They can make banks operate faster and more efficiently. So when you see this, that changes the conversation. And there's a reason for that because I want to show you something. One is, Securrency, which was bought by the DTCC, which settles over a quadrillion or 2 quadrillion in derivatives and settlement every year, is tied in now because they bought Securrency and they can use protocols like Ethereum, Stellar, Ripple, GoChains, EOS, and more. We also know that Chainlink is working with the DTCC as well. And this is Nadine Chirkar and the gentleman who founded Securrency. And they have now been brought over to the DTCC to integrate all of this beautiful technology. There is so much great inside of this, but for the sake of time, I want to bring you to a quick part here. Now, how often have you heard me speak about FSOC? Systemically important financial market utilities or systemically important financial market infrastructures, SIFMUs and SIFIs, right? These are terms that we have talked about for years on this channel. Well, the moment is here.
Their environment.
Well, let me get that, move that.
This really underscores what I think everyone is seeing, that by 2030, they're anticipating on the order of $15 trillion worth of assets on blockchain rails, and far more transactions per day based on that assets under management under blockchain. Well, having a financial market infrastructure that can handle those assets, that meets the highest regulatory standards of a SIFMU, of a systemically important financial market utility,
that's a big deal. Listen, there's so much about this, it's incredible, but why I'm showing you this is because utility. That's what's about to come to this space in a way that we've never witnessed before. Utility. It's about to come here and change the way the market looks forever, because until now, it's been retail driven. And Nadine Chirkar, to her credit, has said this in this interview also. So things are about to change, ladies and gentlemen. They're about to change in a very big way. And don't forget, we work with the Fed, baby. James Wallace from Ripple told us.
The Fed, and we work with C. So I do work in the US. We work with the Fed. I do work in the US. We work with the Fed.
Yeah, there you have it, right? And you think they're not going to use XRP? Remember when Ripple joined ISDA, the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, which settles more than a quadrillion, which I spelled wrong? Damn it. Deep connection to Ripple and ISDA. Will there be a run on Ripple and XRP? Will we see the two world reserve currencies can exist and compete? I think so. I think we're going to see that early moment before the Federal Reserve System was created, when we had multiple currencies racing to compete for dominance. And if we introduce things like a bridge asset like XRP, we can manage that time. We can manage that moment of expansion of what is and what isn't a currency. And then we can let it define itself through that moment. And when we come out the other side, I think XRP is the bridge currency for the world. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.